front all the way to the back.
If we try to believe in anything greater than a miracle, it wouldn't be this difficult. If we try to be a negative bull, yeah, we could be taking control. Yeah. If we try to believe in anything greater than a miracle, it wouldn't be this difficult. If we try to be a negative bull, yeah, we could be taking control. Yeah. We could be taking control. We could be taking control. We could be taking control. We could be taking control.
What is good, fam? How's it going? Hold on, let me move some of this stuff from the camera. Apologize. A little dirty right there. Just some clothes on my bed. But what's up, fam? How's everyone doing? Doing pretty well myself. I have a little bit more of the sophisticated look today with the glasses, fake glasses, while I'm at it. Anyway, hopefully the light doesn't reflect too much off my glasses. I know I have my ring light right there, so it might reflect a little bit. Hopefully, I can maybe if I just like don't really directly look into the camera, you can see it. But let's go ahead and not too much for, like announcement or update wise. To be honest, today it's almost the weekend. It's crazy. End of Thursday. Thursday's always really great because it's like, all right, tomorrow's Friday. Usually don't have too much work on Fridays, got to work from home. And then also, Friday nights I have basketball games as well. So that's why I'm actually doing this stream a little bit earlier than I typically do it, just because we have a little bit later game today, tonight. Our game is at like 8:45, and I usually take some pre-workout before the game just to kind of get me ready and give me enough energy and stuff. So I'm definitely going to be like wired probably until like 2 a.m. this morning or tomorrow morning. So luckily, like I said, tomorrow's Friday and it'll be all good. I just have a haircut, which I'm actually very much looking forward to. It's been like almost like a month, definitely 3 weeks before I got a haircut, and then it's been like I'm gonna do a beard trim as well, just to line things up a little bit. It's still growing it out, but it's getting a little bushy, little flyaways here and there, and need to get lined up. Probably gonna trim the mustache as well, but haircut, beard trim tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. All right, let's go ahead and let's just kind of hop into things tonight. All right, topic at hand we will be discussing is should I go monk mode? Now, this is a topic, honestly, from a long time ago. I'd probably say like a year to 2 years ago that the term monk mode actually got pretty viral and everyone was talking about it. Everyone was going on these little snippets of time of themselves going on monk mode. And even to myself, there were periods of times of my life where I did go quote unquote monk mode, but it is a little bit different from what everyone kind of describes it as because different people have different definitions for it, and I don't think there's necessarily one specific definition for it, but kind of to sum it all up into one sort of definition. Like I said, there's no official definition for it, but it's when you take time away from distractions in your life and you really hone in on your routine and focus in on that and kind of limit outside distractions so you can focus on goals and making improvements for yourself, self improvement. That's kind of what monk mode is. Like I said, you probably heard about it. It's kind of been in the works within social media and a bunch of influencers talking about it for the past couple years. I'd say the poster children for this monk mode ideology, this monk mode thing is like Iman Godzi. He's a really big guy that is a big proponent of monk mode or going monk mode. Another guy is Hamza. If you're familiar with him, he's kind of like the British Indian looking guy. He might not be Indian. I actually don't know. He might be Pakistani or something like that. But anyway, that guy. And then I've watched a couple other videos of some other people, but I'd say those two guys are kind of like the main poster children for this monk mode term. And it's actually really interesting just because I kind of have my own thoughts on it, which we're going to discuss tonight. But I think it does play a very important part in a guy's like self-improvement journey for sure. Just think about this. Of course, I always add some sort of statistics to what I talk about. But guess what the average attention span of someone who's in Gen Z is? This is including myself. It's probably actually pretty accurate. But if you're guessing, it's like less than 10, you're definitely right. 8 seconds. That's the average attention span of someone belonging to Gen Z, which is actually 4 seconds less than millennials. So millennials, I guess, have an average attention span of 12 seconds before they kind of get distracted by things. Gen Z is definitely 4 seconds lower than that, so it's 8 seconds. I couldn't only imagine what I don't even know what the generation under mine is or the generation under Gen Z is, but theirs is probably less. So think about that. Gen Z dropped almost in half of what millennials are. I'd probably say the generation below Gen Z is probably like no, maybe not 2 seconds, but 2 seconds less than 8 seconds. So maybe say 6 seconds or 5 seconds even. Just because you think of TikToks, like it literally takes 3 seconds or 2 seconds for people to kind of tell if they're interested or not, whether or not they continue watching the TikTok. Same with Reels, same with all these short form pieces of content that we have now. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's 5 seconds for the generation under Gen Z, or even if Gen Z eventually turns to like 5 or 6. I think, of course, then like I said, haven't dove, I haven't dove. I don't know what the correct terminology for that. Past tense, present tense. Besides the point, but I haven't really looked at the numbers and the data behind it, but based on kind of just like anecdotal evidence of my own life and other people's lives, the older you get, your attention span doesn't tend to decrease. I'd say it tends to increase. So by the time myself and other members of Gen Z are older, maybe in their 30s or 40s, I'd say our attention span would move up a little bit. And like I said, I don't know if there's any data supporting that or not. But overall, monk mode, it's kind of what it is. I generally think it is a good thing, just to kind of put my initial point of view out there. But a lot of people specifically use monk mode not just for like distractions. You can use it for a number of different distractions you might have. Some people might use it for typically the vices that they have. So, for example, alcohol or smoking, or I guess you can kind of loop like pornography or like chasing women kind of in a similar category. But a lot of guys, especially in the male self improvement space, they typically see it or categorize it as, hey, it's a time taken away from chasing women, chasing all these girls, focusing so much on girls and women and getting the girl, instead of chasing, utilizing most of your time for that. You're utilizing most of your time to build yourself up, to get in better shape, to build a business, to focus on your work or side hustle, whatever you're working on, basically focusing on yourself and improving yourself in all aspects, whether that be spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, financially. So that's kind of what monk mode is. Now, how long do people do monk mode? It's a vary of different time periods. Some people do it for a period of a couple weeks, maybe a week, to several months, to multiple months, to year, or many years. Now, the people that do many years or even a year, I think is a little bit extreme, and I'll get into the kind of my reasons why behind that. But that's kind of the time frame. There's no set time frame, but definitely it's longer than a day for sure. So I'd say minimum a week to a year or several years. Now, obviously, there's different variations of the monk mode. So obviously, some people's monk modes might be a lot more strict and a lot more have less of those distractions than other ones. Some people's monk mode might be very strict. They're not going to drink. They're not going to smoke. They're not going to chase after women, even focus on women. They're literally just going to sit at their desk and work, and go to the gym or something like that. Versus someone else's like method of monk mode, which would kind of be more towards my preferred method of monk mode, would be, hey, I'm focusing kind of most of my free time focusing on extra work I can do, learning new skills, enhancing those skills, developing those skills, trying to build my side hustles, also getting my normal work done, also hitting the gym, focusing on that, focusing on my fitness and my nutrition. But then like a day or two, specifically during the weekend, that's when I'll kind of interact more with people, friends, go on a date or two, something like that. So rather than me going on dates several times a week or hanging out with friends several times a week, instead I'm spending most of those nights just I'm actually I mean, I guess you could say I'm kind of doing that monk mode thing right now. I'm spending pretty much all my weekdays apart from days that I have like basketball games and stuff like this, or maybe like a networking event or something, that I'm here working, focus on creating more content, building out my strategy for my content, and learning additional skills as well, and doing some things on the side. So that's kind of like my preferred method of monk mode, and I'll highlight that as well as we move on. But like I said, there's no really time frame of like this is how long a monk mode is. This is how long not a monk mode is. I guess people are very familiar with like 75 hard, which is something you can compare it to. It's very like regimented schedule that you have, and you have to do like these certain amount of things every single day, which I actually did myself, and I thought was really good. Lots of pros to it. It's definitely more pros than cons for sure, but there are definitely some cons associated with it as well. All right, now let's go into kind of like the pros and cons, at least from my perspective. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, be sure to shoot in the chat or leave it in the description. I'll be sure to answer them. All right, like I said, I'm streaming on YouTube as well as on Rumble at the moment. I don't even know like how you can even like is there even like a live chat on Rumble? I don't even know. Anyway, I'll get to that different time. But pros and cons, yes. So pros definitely it just like allows you to set aside time to focus, preserve your attention. I think it definitely promotes creativity because when you're constantly thinking about stuff that you need to do, constantly your mind's working at near full capacity, your creativity typically drops off. They actually say, I've heard this from many different sources. Like I said, I actually don't know if there's necessarily data backing this up. There probably would be, I would assume. But you're kind of in your most creative space when you're like, not necessarily in isolation, but you don't really think about too much. So, for example, most people are very creative at night when there's not really much going on. If you're set aside your phone, you're just like kind of prepping for bed or even trying to fall asleep. Your mind's kind of racing, thinking about stuff, and a lot of people come up with very good ideas at night. And sometimes while they're sleeping, in the middle of the night, they wake up, they have a dream or something like that, and their creative juices are flowing. And another period as well that you tend to be very creative is, say, on an airplane. Typically on an airplane, people like watch a movie or listen to music, or listen to a podcast or something, or read or sleep. I like to sleep a lot just because I can sleep very easily on planes. Occasionally, I'll watch a movie or so, depending on how long the flight is. But I try to listen to an audiobook or do some reading or get some creative work done just because that's a period of time when it's like you literally don't have many other distractions, if any, and kind of have a little bit of noise in the background with the airplane and the air, just you flying through the air. Very minimal distractions. You're kind of sitting there by yourself. You're probably next to some people that you don't know, so you're not really talking to them. So that's a very, I've heard, very ideal time to get your creative juices flowing. So if you have kind of an extended period of time like this, say in a monk mode session, then you tend to your creative juices tend to flow a lot easier and a lot more. So you can come up with more of that creative side, which I've definitely found in my life just because naturally I'm not very creative, or at least I didn't initially think I was very creative, but then kind of focusing more time for myself and thinking and coming up with new ideas and concepts and setting aside time for that has definitely increased my creative capacity for sure. I said creativity, new ideas, that's kind of all bundled up in the kind of the same idea. No other distractions other than your goals. This is really great for especially goals, especially ones that you set at the beginning of the year. Everyone does their New Year's resolutions, but ends up giving up like a month in. Like think about the gym. People go to the gym very consistently for like a couple weeks. Gym's packed at the beginning of every single year. But then comes February and it's like, all right, it's kind of back to normal, if not a little bit more dead than it was, say, in like middle of the summer or something like that. People give up on their goals just because they get distracted by other things, and or the goal that they were doing was pretty hard. But typically, it's like it's a compounding effect. It's all right. The goal is kind of hard to begin with, and then on top of that, I'm distracted by all these different things. I have a million other things I need to do. It's extra effort to go out to the gym or to post that piece of content or to film a piece of content or something like that. Makes it very much harder so people give up on their goals. I literally have my goals right here on a little whiteboard and I have it pinned in most of my socials. It's like, all right, this is what I need to do. And of course, like I've been pretty very consistent on all of them, maybe except for like deadlift, just because my I'm rehabbing my knee a little bit, so that's a little bit different case. But I'm spending the time to rehab my knee, and I'm actually like a lot better than I was say a month ago. So 500 deadlift, we'll see if that's still attainable or not. 4 or 5 bench, definitely still attainable. I'm not going to read out all my goals. I had a separate live on that for the new year, but keep it visible. And then at times when you have time to think, especially when I'm at my workstation right here at nighttime, kind of working on stuff, listen to maybe some music, like focus music in the background, and or it's usually some sort of YouTube video of someone just talking. I can see it readily available right there, and it makes me think about my goals. And it's like, all right, like let's set up the system, set up the actions I need to do in order to achieve my goals. So it gives you a chance to have no other distractions other than your goals. And I think this is very prevalent, especially I served a 2 year mission in Japan. If anyone else has kind of had an experience like that, or maybe you go to like a summer camp or you go and do a humanitarian trip, it's like you kind of put everything else on hold. And mine was 2 years, so it's like definitely a lot different than say like just a week. So it would be like a spiritual monk mode that I did for those 2 years. That you really just like don't worry about anything else besides like why the purpose, like why you're there, which I think is very everyone needs a certain amount of time in their lives to be able to do that. All right, and then lastly, and like I said, there's so many different pros and just overall self improvement. That's just like that should sell you off the bat. I think also prevents you from spending unnecessary money or things that I put in parentheses right here, things that you won't make you money per se. So typically when you're out and about super busy, you're like, oh, I don't have time to cook my own food. I'm gonna go pick up some food, or I need to go buy this or buy that type of thing. You're just kind of constantly busy versus you're focusing on stuff that will probably end up either improving your health, improving your fitness, or increasing your financial worth or your ability to gain financial, just additional resources, specifically financially. Then I typically find this is my slogan. It's like when you're not making money, you're spending money. And I think that's true. So when you're kind of focusing on building your skills and building, especially your ability to increase your income, then you're typically not really spending money on, especially spending money on frivolous things, spending money in general. But I think spending money on your business ideas and something that will either appreciate in value or give you income, cash flow, then I think that's a good use of money rather than buying clothes or buying shoes or buying things. Don't get me wrong, I love that stuff, but this period of time allows you to like not really focus on that stuff because it doesn't really matter because you're not really seeing other people or actively kind of seeing other people, and your focus is on your goals rather than like impressing other people per se. But who knows, that could be part of your goal as well. All right, some of the cons I want to get into. All right, some of the cons are I don't think a lengthy monk mode is a very good thing for people in general. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rules, but say this a million times, I typically don't navigate life based off the exceptions. I go off the generalizations. But too long is not never a good thing, just because, especially, I mean, if it's from bad vices like unhealthy eating or stuff like that, I think at the end of the day, everything in, um, I just had my mind went blank. Everything in, um, what's the term for it? It's not everything, not indulging, not in abundance, but if you have a little bit at a time, then it's fine. It's gonna bother me. The heck, I need to look at this phrase. If anyone knows what this phrase is, please let me know. I'm looking at everything in Moderation. That's the terminology I wanted. Anything in moderation, I think is okay. So whether that be like sweets every once in a while, and get like some chocolate, you like some ice cream, like you want some cake, like I think that's fine in moderation. Like um, going out with dates, like spending time with girls and stuff, focusing on that. I don't think it's a bad thing, especially if one of your long term goals. Except especially for me, it's like eventually want to get married and like have a family and stuff. So it's just like it's necessary. I can't just like live in monk mode forever, nor do I want to. It kind of sounds miserable. And monk mode inherently is supposed to be pretty difficult to do. So it's like it's not an easy thing to do. It's a good thing to do, like I said, in periods of time because it kind of puts you in an uncomfortable situation and forces you to improve and to work on stuff that normally you'd probably deter from or move away from because it's not the funnest thing to do. So too long can definitely inhibit everything in moderation. It's fine. Too long, especially social skills. So, for example, if I didn't get out like one or two times a week, I think eventually over a period of say like 6 months, maybe not like a month or so, that wouldn't really inhibit any social skills. But social skills take practice, and like for example, even me speaking Japanese language, like I don't speak it very often anymore. I used to, and I was pretty kept up with the language, but definitely my language skills in Japanese are way worse than say the times when I was living in Japan, talking, speaking it every single day. That's just how it is. And social skills are the exact same way. Any skills the exact same way. So too long from social interaction with people, especially with people from the opposite sex, is not a good thing. It inhibits your social skills, especially if that's something you're wanting to improve on. Or, like I said, typically guys will use the term monk mode to be like, oh, I'm not going to focus on dating at all. I'm not going to go on dates at all to kind of build myself better, self improve myself to the point where I seem more attractive to women to kind of excel in dating. Like that's going to actually inhibit you with your ability to date and to be successful at it. Just because, yeah, sure, you might be this jack guy who's making a lot more money, but you can't like hold a conversation with a woman or be interesting. Then it's like it doesn't really matter kind of what you did. All right, so too long can inhibit specifically social skills and everything in moderation. All right, and then also your work, especially if you kind of depends on what kind of work you do. If you're just like a software engineer, and I would even say to some cases, like a couple of my roommates are software engineers, and they have to hop on calls with other engineers and their other teammates and stuff. So it's like your work typically requires some sort of collaboration. So it's kind of impossible to like totally go monk mode and just like, all right, I'm not going to talk to you because I'm monk mode right now. There might be short periods of time where that's fine, but like you're gonna have to interact with people sometimes. All right, next, also isolating yourself will not, well, I hit this kind of point already, but isolating yourself will not help you improve with dating slash social skills. Like if you do this for too long of a extended period of time, I'd say anything longer than 3 months is too long willingly, then it's not going to help you. It's going to actually hurt you in dating and social skills, especially in a society where a lot of guys just kind of naturally lack those skills. So don't do it too long. All right. And then I just added it as a note. Typically, for if you're going monk mode, I definitely encourage you to go to the gym. Honestly, even hit the gym harder than usual. But people could potentially like slack on the gym because they're like, oh, I need to work on my business or I need to work on this other stuff. So like gym, I'm not going to handle as serious as possible because maybe it's a quote unquote distraction, which I would say it helps you focus even more. So you could result in a little bit drop of testosterone potentially, just being not moving around as much. You're just sitting still here. But like I said, most monk modes include focusing on physical fitness and exercise. So for the most part, this probably wouldn't be a problem, but I could see for some people it could be. So lack of fitness, drop in testosterone potentially. Not a good thing. All right. And then also you get to kind of get to a point where this is kind of going also in the realm of going monk mode too long. It's like it's the law of diminishing returns. The reasons why you do monk mode is to boost your focus, preserve your attention, boost your creativity, kind of think of new ideas. limit distractions, mitigate from distractions, prevent you from spending money. But it's just like there's no way to get rid of all distractions whatsoever in life. This is just impossible. It's like trying to just you live your whole life thinking like I'm going to eliminate every single temptation that ever comes across me. It's like I'm going to live in a isolated box where I will have zero temptation and zero distractions. I will just work, 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 or just focus on my goals or whatever. It's like that's a very unrealistic situation. So I do believe at some point, and hopefully you eventually turn a lot of these things that you're practicing and during monk mode into habits. But I do think there's some sort of law of diminishing returns, and I think there is beauty and healthiness in, like I said, moderation in everything, or everything in moderation. And then at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that you're doing, especially when you're on the more strict side of monk mode, that's why I typically like the less strict side of monk mode. So, because if you're doing very strict monk mode, so say like some sort of 75 hard, it's not sustainable. You can't do that every single day for the rest of your life until you die. It's impossible. And of course, you can't do everything. Everything I do in my current life, like at 26 years old, I'm not going to be able to do when I'm 86. It's not possible. I understand that. But there are things you can kind of keep similar and in the same realm enough where it can be sustainable until the day I die, or pretty close to the day I die. So that's why, because I'll kind of end off on like, this is kind of my recommendation that I like to have a little bit of a moderate slash less stringent monk mode where I'll be focusing on going to the gym. I'll be focusing on my physical fitness and my exercises and stuff. Focus on my reading and stuff during in the mornings as well. I would have my routine and then do my work during the day, and then at nights during the weekdays I will be live streaming Tuesdays, Thursdays, on Mondays. I call it Money Mondays. So this is my time to kind of like look at new investment opportunities, see where we can make a little bit more money, maybe some side hustle stuff. And then on Wednesdays and Wednesdays and maybe Fridays or Saturdays or even Sundays where I don't have any other activities or a date or anything to go on, I'm going to be focusing on, all right, what can I do to improve my streams? What can I do to improve my content, make more content? What are different angles I can approach on my website or my Buff Asian page, my fitness page? I've been focusing a lot of attention on my kind of my main page lately, but I also need to allocate some time and energy to my fitness page as well, because that's a kind of a way I'm funneling people to, or trying to funnel people into my main page. So these things take time, they take energy to think about. So I needed to dedicate that time to it. And then on the weekends, I'll typically do, like I said, 1 or 2 days a week. I'll like go on a date or go on a couple dates or go to a concert or see a sporting event, hang out with some people from the ward. I'll do something social. That way I still get that social interaction. But kind of during the week, I'm like kind of work mode, kind of monk mode in a sense. So that is my recommendation. Everyone's monk mode is definitely very different. I know Iman Godsi and his kind of breakdown of monk mode, he kind of has like these three things he does. It's like something to do with physical fitness, something to do with meditation, and I forget what the other thing, maybe like reading or something. I can't remember. So I'd say my basic pillars are some sort of workout, physical exercise. So whether it be, right now I'm kind of lifting 3 days a week or 4 days a week. And then the other 3 days a week, I'm doing like cardio or playing basketball. Just because I'm in a league right now and trying to kind of get the basketball rust off of me. And then some sort of physical exercise, and then some sort of learning or skill or setting aside time for my content purposes, which I'm obviously doing. And then third is like a little bit of reading as well. So reading my scriptures every single day. And then also I'm reading the Thinking Fast and Slow book, which is the psychology and statistics book, which I think is really interesting. So kind of those are, I guess, my three building blocks. I'm sure you could probably add a couple more. I probably have a couple more in my current routine that I'm doing. So do I have a specific amount of time that I'm doing this? Probably for the next I've been doing this for around like a month already. So probably for the next couple months, I'll be doing this. And that way, kind of doing this less stringent version of it, it's more sustainable. I can do this. I can obviously eventually want to get to the point where I can like free up a lot of my time and not focus much on work. But honestly, I enjoy doing it, so that's plus side. But you want to make it sustainable, where if I wanted to, if I felt like I needed to, I can do it for 6 months. I can do it for a year. I can do it for multiple years. So sustainability, I think at the end of the day is great. Obviously, there's going to be times where you're gonna have to grind, and spend all your time doing a few things and kind of isolating yourself from the distractions. But that's not realistic to think you can do that all the time. So those are kind of my thoughts on monk mode. Overall consensus, I think monk mode is generally a good thing. So it gets the mic approval thumbs up. But I like my method of doing it, and that's why I recommend for most people is just like in moderation. So for example, um, and specifically when you, I'll relate this to specifically dating. I've talked a lot about business and stuff like that and fitness, but specifically with dating, I think a lot of guys do need to take some small breaks between dating, especially if they're very upset with their results or not getting any results. You need to do some stuff. You need to do a lot. Well, every guy can do a lot of things to approve them, to make them seem more attractive and just to be more attractive in general, be higher value. And there's been discussions of like Jay Waller and stuff. It's like they don't like using the word high value or anything like that, but just self improve yourself. There's things everyone can do. There's things that Top G can do, you know. There's things that Jay Waller can do. There's things that Tristan Tate can do to get better, continually level up. And that's just the name of the game of life. Just keep leveling up, which I think is pretty sick and it's satisfying. Excuse me. So specifically when it comes to with like dating and seeing results from that, if you're not seeing results, I recommend take like a month, couple weeks, just focus on yourself. Don't really focus on like swiping on the dating apps or following girls on Instagram or messaging them. But don't go too long. I've had friends and I've known people that have gone like 6 months without it. And it's just like, you kind of get to the point where it is the law of diminishing returns. It's like, all right, like, an aspect of improving yourself in the dating market is obviously getting in better shape, making more money, uh, increasing your status, but it's social skills as well. And it's like, all right, you kind of do those things, but you still have to improve your social skills. And how do you improve your social skills? Is by experience. It's by actually doing the thing, talking to girls, like making conversations with them, knowing how to talk to them in like a normal person, and make sure that you're like treating them like a normal person too. And also with just like relationship dynamics as well. It's like, all right, what do I do in this situation? What do I do in that situation? You can read it in books and watch it in videos all day long, but it's like the best experience is just your own experience. So obviously you can get tips and tricks from different people, different sources, but you just kind of have to put yourself in a lot of those situations. Obviously, it doesn't mean like put yourself in all bad situations, try to avoid the bad situations, but experience comes from doing the thing. So you need to actually do it. So that's kind of my recommendation, specifically with dating and stuff, if anyone's struggling with that, because I've been there, you know, we've all been there. So obviously try to create things on your own. Each person's very unique, and you need to create a system that works for yourself. But I'm just here to give you the building blocks to kind of build the life and achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So I'll leave it at that. Gotta get ready. Gotta head out soon. Catch you later. I'm gonna be wired, like I said. I'm gonna take some pre-workout. I'm gonna be wired till like 2 a.m. So I'll be making some content for sure. All right. Catch y'all later. You know what it is. As with everything, trying to help you guys get stronger, smarter, healthier, wealthier. So go ahead, follow for more lives, follow for more tips. Stay pumped. Catch y'all later. Do the outro.